it's only been a handful of times that I've played a real person, and at that handful of times, they haven't been any. It hasn't been anybody that anybody would know. So there was. So I've never had to do.
Was JFK real? Was that guy real?
Yeah, not really.
He was
was kind of a combination of a few
of different agents.
Yeah, he was kind of a combination of a few different people.
Yeah,
one of which Oliver sent me out one night into New Orleans to hang with this guy, and
oh really?
And he gave me and kind of like a tour of the various like leather bars and sex clubs of kind of underground New Orleans, and thankfully Gary Oldman agreed to come along with me.
Yeah, you weren't alone.
I wasn't alone. No.
It's breaking bread.
Hey, everybody, exciting news. Our Patreon is up and running. Very cool side project from Breaking Bread with Tom Papa, where bonus stuff is waiting for you. People have already joined. It's really fantastic. You get extra material. You get extended interviews. You get top secret things that I do with, I wouldn't say there's nudity, but there's suggestive, right? Yeah. I saw something. I was watching HBO, and they said something like quick partial nudity. Yeah, that kind of thing's going on over at Patreon. It's really fantastic. It's a great way to support the podcast and a great way for you to get bonus material. So go over to patreon.com, look up Breaking Bread with Tom Papa, and you're in, and then you're a friend for life. It's easy peasy. We'll see you over there. This episode of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. It's like it was made for us. Are you ready to bring all your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Check out Wild Grain so you can begin building your own box of breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/papa to start your subscription. You heard me right, kids. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/papa. That's wildgrain.com/papa, or just use the promo code PAPA, PAPA, at checkout. Well, thanks, man. This is, I would have baked you bread if we were in Los Angeles.
Are you a baker?
I'm a baker. And, but I had to fly last night.
Are you one of those bakers that does sourdough and keeps the mother thing and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
It's my buddy is really super into that.
Yeah.
And he's great. And he kind of was one of those people that took it up during the pandemic. And I absolutely love. I mean, a lot of people have told him that he needs to, whatever, but he doesn't want to do it because he's an actor. He's like, no, I'm an actor. I don't want to bake bread. I'm not a baker. But his bread is amazing. And when their house was threatened, I said, "Did you grab the mother?" Because people keep that stuff for years.
Yeah,
don't they? Yeah, it's wild.
I know. I've got two of them.
Oh, do you?
And if I'm on the road for a long time, I've got to call my wife and have her feed it while I'm on the road.
Oh, you have to feed it.
You have to feed it flour and water to keep it alive.
Oh, wow.
And you can slow it down in the refrigerator. You can keep it. You can slow it down, but still, if it's over a week and a half, 2 weeks, she's got to feed it.
Wow.
Which she does not enjoy. But I got you some pastries from Vesuvio, which is my favorite bakery in Soho.
Thank you.
Yeah. You seem like you've always been naturally able to stay skinny.
Yeah, I mean, I eat pretty well and work out and stuff.
Yeah, but when I've watched your whole career, I was always like, man, that guy could probably eat anything he wants.
I don't know. I don't really. I don't think about it that much.
You don't have to. If you were fat, then you'd think about it, and you'd watch you in movies and think, Son of a bitch.
I mean, I think it's beyond just the weight part of it. It's to me, it's like I just have to feel good and I just feel better when I eat better.
Yeah. I'm that way now, but when I was young eating Doritos, yeah. Congratulations on the Eagles, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Only for Eagles fans, but I mean, it
really,
was,
pretty isolated.
yeah. I mean, it's so funny when people say that was a terrible game. I'm like, really? I didn't notice.
I was having fun the whole time.
Actually, I was alone in the apartment and here in New York.
Yeah.
And my wife, chose to go out to dinner with a friend. And so I realized that I was going to be all alone watching the game, which is, fine.
Yeah.
It's not a sad story, but I'm often watching football by myself.
Yeah.
And there was that a really bad call on pretty much the first or second play of the game. It was a pass interference call.
Right.
And I just was screaming just like an idiot, and I thought the neighbors were going to call the cops, and I was just like, bro, you got to calm down. Come on. You're a grown man. Yeah.
It's too important. It means too much. It really does. It's exciting.
I was just down in Philly, actually.
Were you?
Yeah. And it's still, people are still talking about it.
Yeah. Do you have a real connection with it still? Because you've been in New York for so long.
No, I've been in New York since I was 17, actually.
Right.
And so, speaking of sports, weirdly, I'm an Eagles fan and a Knicks fan. So people
really?
are like, what?
Oh, that's right.
What is that? I don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm not one of those people that is like it's fun to follow a team, and if I follow a team especially a Philly team, I just like nice stuff to happen to that city because it was so much a part of our family. And, I still have connections. I got 2 sisters down there and a nephew. And
it's a good spot. I went to school in Central Jersey, so I was a Giant fan, so it was Eagle fans and Giant fans meeting and just annoying each other.
Right.
So this year was especially difficult watching Saquon go watching Hard Knocks and watching them create that deal.
I will say, though, that, sorry to interrupt, but I will say that I have been surprised just, anecdotally with Giants fans that I've met that have said to me that they're actually happy for Saquon.
Yeah.
Not happy about the team, or maybe not happy that they let him go.
Yeah.
But that they were happy for him specifically.
Yeah, and it really was kind of like I was rooting for the Eagles during the Super Bowl, which I never did in my life. I mean, I'm not crazy, but, it was still a difficult thing to be like, wow, I'm really rooting for the Eagles. Like, it just kind of happened. It was very strange. Yeah, but he is great. He was amazing.
He's so great.
Yeah. So you've lived in you never did L.A.?
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a little place there now because after so many years of, if you added it all up, I've spent years and years of my life in L.A.
Yeah.
But my wife was born and raised in Manhattan, and we were just kind of like East Coast people. And for a long time, I think that we had this silly notion that we kind of defined ourselves as New York actors. We're New York actors, and we made a decision that we didn't like L.A. And I even wrote a song called City of Fear. And I think that it was like about the fact that, that when you're in L.A., your success or failure in terms of like the industry is really very much in your face.
Yeah.
And I was so kind of insecure about that. So I used to say that it's the best place to be if you've just been nominated for an Oscar. You know what I mean? You can't get any better. Or you got a giant, poster on Sunset Boulevard and the movie is crushing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if that's not happening, which is most of the time, it's a place where the industry is so much in your face that I was too insecure to really be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Then through the years, having spent years of my life at, in the 80s at the Chateau Marmont or the Sunset Marquis,
Yeah.
and then in rented houses, one rented house after another. My wife was on a TV series for 7 years.
Right.
And so that was 6 months of the year that, I wasn't there all the time with the kids, but we would be there for a lot of time.
Yeah.
We eventually went, wow, I think we're going to miss it. And so our kids were out of the house. Actually, both of them live in LA now.
Oh, wow.
And we got a little place there. And now I love it now.
Yeah. I think having kids changes it too. I think when you're scraping and you're single, you're not really, or married, and you're kind of like adrift. Mm-hmm. Like when I went out there, it was when I had my first daughter, and we could have been living in Wisconsin. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We were our tribe. We were kind of in there. Like it definitely doused a little bit of the show business anxiety. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Yeah. You just have to, you just have to get past that. Then you have to find your community too. I think that's another piece of it. How many kids you got?
Two daughters.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
22 and 20. Mm-hmm. They're people now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said that they're in LA, that's our debate now. Because we're New Yorkers, and we're in LA now, and we're watching the girls and seeing which way they're going to go. Because that's my wife is like, where they go, we go. Because she would come back to New York in a second, but it seems like they're going to split. It seems one really likes LA, one really likes New York.
They're going to college or no?
One's in college and one's a person. One's out now. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll just go back and forth and follow them, I guess.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, your story is so cool because it is a New York actor's story. And just growing up in this area, watching that track has always been so admirable, of like starting in New York, doing off-Broadway, doing Broadway. Then you start getting your things, and always kind of coming back.
I don't think it really exists anymore, though, does it?
No, I know. I'm directing my friend in this off-Broadway thing, and we're looking for a space because we're changing the spot. And the guy who runs it, who's the production, who's like, theater guy forever in New York, he was like, well, it's something off-Broadway. He goes, well, not that off-Broadway exists anymore. And it was such a sad thing to hear.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. It's
right?
Such a sad thing to hear.
Yeah.
I also don't think there's really, literally, it's funny to think about, but there was literally you were known as a New York actor, and that had a certain kind of cachet when it came to the movie business. You were trying, at least what I was trying to do, and what some of us were trying to do, was follow in the footsteps of, Dustin and De Niro and Pacino and Merrill, and you know what I mean? And John Casale, and
right.
Raul Julia. These were all the people who were kind of defined as having a certain thing that had a kind of interesting cachet in the film business, and besides just their work, it was kind of like what I was aspiring to, and theater was a really big part of that. But now, if a young person came up to me and said New York or LA, I don't think I would necessarily recommend that you have to stay in New York and get your chops. I think it's like New York or LA. I'd say TikTok.
I know.
Sad but true.
I know. But there was, what you're describing and what you went through. That I think just as a craft, like take the business out of it and making it out of it, like the craft. I think the mentality was to be really great and be as good and real as you could be, right? Isn't that the thing that...
Totally.
Right?
Totally. I started out, I've talked about this before, but what haven't I talked about before? I started out when I was really young with a real desire to be famous. And to make money.
Mm-hmm. When did that hit, by the way?
Probably, like 12, 11, whatever.
Where'd that come from?
It came, I'll tell you, I think it was a combination of things. I had older brothers and sisters, so they kind of exposed me to early rock and roll and soul music, and so I was kind of like, I want to be a pop star,
right?
You know, I wouldn't buy them, but I would see the Tiger Beat, you know, covers with like, you know, Michael Jackson and you know, Donny Osmond and you know, David Cassidy and the Partridge Family and all. Like, I was like, this is like the thing that, you know, I want.
Yeah.
But I also think that from a fundamental way, my father was a famous guy in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
He was he was trained as an architect, but he became a city planner.
Okay.
And he in Philadelphia was very, very like influential in the way that the city kind of developed, and he was very ahead of his time in terms of like really wanting to keep the downtowns and cities in general to remain vibrant, because this was during the 40s and 50s when people were like, we're going to the suburbs, we're getting out of here, this is too, you know,
let's run a freeway through this.
This is too scary and whatever, you know, white flight basically. And he loved Philadelphia and became, you know, pretty famous in Philly.
Wow.
And so he loved his fame. That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that he loved it. Like, he would bring home articles in the paper, and people would stop him on the street, and he'd be like, yes, and, you know, he was like, he was really, you know, had a very, very, you know, kind of healthy ego about that kind of stuff.
Like a de facto mayor.
Yes, definitely, yeah. And you could just see him soaking it up. So I think that kind of fame thing hit me. But what happened was I got into acting classes and then came to New York when I was 17 and went to Circle in the Square. And all of a sudden, that piece of it was almost like undesirable. Like, you didn't even want to admit that you wanted to have any kind of fame or success, because you wanted to be down and dirty and working in, you know, what we call toilet bowl theater. You know, you wanted to be, you know, down in the Village, you know, scraping away for $90 a week or whatever it was, you know.
Screw LA.
Yeah, screw LA.
Screw the movies.
Yeah. And so that was the cloth that I was cut from. In fact, I had there was a, you know, I don't really often think about pivotal moments in you know, careers. I mean, I've heard people do interviews where they just go, and then that happened, and it does. I think more like in terms of like little steps, little things happen along the road. But there was a moment when I was doing a 3-line role in a workshop production. So it was only going to play for 2 weeks. At an off-Broadway play that had come from the Actors Theater of Louisville, and they were going to workshop it in New York. And I was offered the television series. It must have been I don't think it was the Diner series. I think it was maybe an Animal House series, because I had already done Animal House.
Okay.
And we met moving to L.A., you know.
Yeah.
And, of course, when somebody comes to you with any kind of TV thing, at that point in your life, I mean, I was literally like had just stopped waiting tables, or I still was waiting tables. You know, that amount of money would be huge.
Yeah.
And I turned it down because I wanted to do, first off, probably because I was afraid of moving to LA, but also because I just felt so much more at home in New York, but also because I really liked that play. And even though I only had 3 lines, there was just something about it that felt like right for me. And that was a pretty big kind of moment for me.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, because you're telling yourself, your subconscious is saying, no. This is what we do. Like, we're working, we're growing, like, right, we're becoming this thing, rather than, you know, I mean, the bad version is you fly out there, you do the Animal House series, and then you get stuck out there, and you're working at Ralph's, and you're taking anything you can to survive, and all of a sudden your career is this different thing.
Totally. And I don't know the series. I don't think it ever went. I mean, if it did, I don't think it was on for very long. I can't remember.
That was a weird era where they always took
movies and
tried to make them into a thing.
Yeah.
It's weird to think like how great The Odd Couple was.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. That's right.
It was so good. But I mean, you had real actors in it.
Yeah. Well, it's where it's worked. It's worked a few times really well. I mean, I think about Fargo, that was one of those ones where you go, you're kidding. You're not really going to try to make Fargo into a series. And then it's amazing,
Yeah.
So, it can work. I mean,
At what point did you do the soap operas? Was that before Animal House?
No, that was actually after Animal House. Yeah, Animal House really did nothing for my career. It really didn't. I thought it would. I mean, I was a waiter. The movie came out. I spent the money. I mean, after I finished the movie, we were in Oregon. I came back. I spent the money in, whatever, 3 weeks, and I was back waiting tables. When the movie came out, I was a waiter. So the soaps came after that. Yeah. After that, yeah.
Did you get some cachet though, being Animal House?
Not really.
Nothing.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't know. I did not actually. I didn't. I thought maybe it could get me an agent, but that didn't happen.
Oh, wow.
And so
How'd they find you in the first place?
Yeah, really weird. There was a casting director named Michael Chinich, and he was working on the film, and he came to my acting school, and they just said, listen, we're going to cast this movie and we need like young assholes. Do you have any? And they were like, yes, right here.
Wait till you see this guy.
Step right up. And so they sent me over there to meet John Landis, and Landis told me to make a smarmy face, and I literally didn't know what the word smarmy meant, but there was a certain sound to what's I call onomatopoeia or something. It was like I kind of made a face that I thought would be smarmy, and then he loved it. And he brought me back again. I don't know that there were any lines. I mean, I didn't get the script, obviously, but until I started shooting. But I don't know that there were any lines for me to say at that point, or there wasn't really enough dialogue to do a real scene.
Yeah.
And then he brought me back and he said, make the smarmy face again. And then they called me up and I went out there and did the movie.
That's amazing. When you talk about pivotal moments, like, you don't kind of say like this changed or whatever. Did you have a sense in the early days that things were kind of happening? Like doors kind of open and you find yourself in these spots. Looking back or in the moment, did you feel like, all right, shit, this could happen? Like that's quick, right? You're only in New York a little bit.
Yeah, no. I mean, it didn't feel quick to me because time is just different, you know? Yeah, but it was quick. It was quick and it was lucky. But, when I finished it, and it was certainly life-changing being on a set and the feeling of what that meant, and looking at the cameras and the gear and the insane, thing in the cast and the living in a hotel on the road and flying first class for the first time in my life. And actually, I'd never even flown I don't think I'd ever been to the West Coast. I think it was my first time to the West Coast.
Yeah.
All these things were amazing. And then I got back to New York and I was like, okay, I'm broke. I got to go back to the waiting tables. And so it's always been about the next one, kind of. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even when there's the only time that I reflect on things is when I'm doing this.
Right.
I really don't look back that much. You know?
And is that a desire to keep creating things? Like, is it the searching? Is it the journey that prevents you from like, whoa, man, I really nailed it? Because you're always kind of thinking, what's next?
I'm always thinking what's next. And it is the desire to keep creating things. And, you're talking about you wear something where you get something. And that was from my mother, because my mother was somebody who constantly steered us towards creating as opposed to purchasing. She really believed that you needed to keep, we had barely had a television. It was in the basement. It was black and white. It had the bent coat hanger sticking out of it, and but there was tons of art supplies or musical instruments or a costume box or if you wanted to take some kind of a lesson that was like creative, they were completely in support of that. Both of them were really,
Did she do that as well, or she was just cultivating it?
No, she was a nursery school teacher.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah, but yeah, and so I think I still have that. Also, I mean, I think it goes a little deeper than that. Just like that kind of like hunger to keep, trying to. I'm not. There's no part of me that's like pumping the brakes at this point in my life. It's just not.
Yeah.
I maybe I will someday.
Yeah.
And just go. I want to just. I don't know. Build a birdhouse, but you know what I mean. I'm very much focused on what's next.
It is a real blessing to be in a position where retirement isn't even like an idea.
It's not.
Isn't it? I mean, that's such a...
I feel very blessed about that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as an actor because people have said this before, but the opportunities that you get always have a chance of changing because you're changing, because you're getting old, you're getting wrinkles, and you get a part with somebody that's got wrinkles,
right?
Or you get a part with someone that's got gray hair. It's like a It's not that you will. It'll just stop. Like the creative process will just stop. I mean, I think sometimes about, rock and roll and songwriters and sometimes people write their best stuff when they're young and then it's you don't hear from them that much anymore in terms of the songwriting. You can still, play and sing and all that kind of stuff. But acting, somebody else is writing it, so.
Yeah. It's, back to me saying that it was your career is such a cool New York story. It is really the craft that I admire. It's like watching your trajectory and what you did. And I watched the first thing of your new show, The Bondsman, and it really was like, holy shit, this guy has so many gears. Like the beginning, just the first 10 minutes of this show is you're playing this character that I've seen you kind of like poke into, but there's you have another level, and you've obviously cultivated this other gear that you have that is, you still have all the humor, you still have like the appeal, but there's like a darkness to it too, and like a searching, and you're older, and it's just like you're going to keep creating forever. And it's like, here's like another I mean, when you sorry if I'm going on, but
no.
When you did just in planes, trains, and automobiles, when you're just that youthful kid and you're giving that little wink over and you're about to run for the taxi, like there's a certain character and a certain magic to that is just so enduring. To see you still be able to hit notes, but with a totally different, like what you're doing in The Bondsman could be so different from that guy. It's just so impressive, and I'm babbling, but it's really because of the craft. Like there's nothing better than watching somebody who's like, you obviously enjoys growing and expanding and doing what he's doing.
I love the craft. I absolutely love it. Thank you for saying that, by the way. Also, I love the craft, but I also, how can I say this? That's all I have. Like, I don't have a thing. Like, do you know an actor? I'm not going to use a name because they could possibly think of this as insulting. But there's a lot of actors that just have a thing that they do that's just fucking great. And you just want to see it all the time. You just want to see them do that.
Yeah.
Because they just crush it.
Yeah.
Again and again. I don't have a thing. I have to be walking in somebody else's shoes.
Right.
Like, to me, my thing, whoever I am, it's just not that fucking interesting. You know what I mean? It's not. It's always about who Hub Halloran is. Like if Hub Halloran, if I can find a way into Hub Halloran in a specific way, then I can do my craft. If I can find a specific way into the guy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Talking about the two extremes. Yeah, one has no lines, by the way.
I know, but
I can. then I have something to hang my hat on. That's why if I look at a script and it's just kind of like he's just the guy, right?
Yeah,
I'm kind of lost. Like I don't really know how to do that.
Right.
Whereas I think there's a lot of people that you could hire who are gigantic stars, and you'd say, I know, that's what I'm going to get. He's going to do the guy.
Yeah. I remember somebody in something. It was a director. Somebody said like having dinner with Al Pacino early on, like just having a meal with him, just having a conversation. He just being himself did everything that he ever did in the movies. Like it was all just happening. It was all his moves were just natural to him.
Yeah.
Right, to your point, and then you bring it in. This episode of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. I love the people at Wild Grain. They sent me a bunch of stuff. I've told you on the podcast before. I don't know how I can express it with any more emphasis. I love bread. I love bread. I bake bread. I was going to say I make pasta. I don't. I took an Italian cooking class once when I was in Italy, and I learned it, and I took home a folder, and I was like, we're going to make pasta every night, and I've never done it. I do like making cookies once in a while. I enjoy watching my wife make cookies. I do bread. When I'm on the road, I don't have a lot of time. It's a 3-day process for me to bake bread. So sometimes I come home and I want to make a quick meal, and I go to my freezer, and in there is artisanal breads from Wild Grain, and pastas and desserts and fun croissants, stuff like that. Literally within 20 minutes of taking it frozen, you put it in the oven, and bam, you've got not just like passable bread, you've got great bread. They're a really fantastic company. I really can endorse them with all of my heart. Wild Grain's boxes are fully customizable to your tastes and dietary restrictions. In addition to the classic variety box, they recently launched a new gluten-free box and a plant-based box that is 100% vegan. Woo! Best of all, they take the hassle out of baking, since all items bake from frozen in 25 minutes or less with no mess or cleanup. Are you ready to bring your favorite carbs right to your doorstep? Check out Wild Grain so you can begin building your own box of artisanal breads, pastas, and pastries. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/papa to start your subscription. You heard me right. You get free croissants and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/papa. wildgrain.com/papa, or just use the promo code PAPA, PAPA, at checkout. Thank you, Wild Grain, for the ad and all the bread. Was it Planes, Trains, and then she's having a baby, or is it the other way around?
I'll tell you what happened with that was that we did She's Having a Baby.
Which I loved.
Thank you.
God, it was so good.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I was just talking to this guy the other day that I was playing some music with, and he just had a baby. And it was a rough birth. And he was describing, everyone ended up being fine, but he was describing that feeling, and I was like, whatever you do, don't see she's having a baby, because you will relive this. There's that Kate Bush song at the end. I mean, not to, pat myself on the back. It's really, I'm just paying homage to John Hughes' amazing direction of that moment and the use of that song. And
God.
At the end of the movie. Anyway.
Heart-wrenching.
Yeah. What happened was, when She's Having a Baby, I did a very, very deep dive with John Hughes. I spent a lot of time with him and with his family and on the weekends. And, in a weird way, not even really. This is just something that he kind of in a way, kind of demanded of his, of certainly of me. I don't know about what from other people, but that's really what he wanted. And I guess in retrospect, I realized that, I was playing him, so it was a great ride along in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and we made the movie, and when the movie finished, I said, "Hey." I knew that he was going on to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
And I said, "Hey, if you got anything for me, just let me know."
Right.
And what happened was the studio, and in my opinion, this was a giant fuck up, switched the release dates. So they wanted to put Planes, Trains out before She's Having a Baby. I don't think that they really liked She's Having a Baby, because I think that I think they felt it was a little too serious for John, that it was a little too personal.
Yeah.
And a lot of his stuff had been, just bigger.
Right.
And great movies, but, just kind of more kind of comedic or whatever.
Yeah. In like a cultural moment.
Yes. Yeah. And so they put out Plane, Trains, and Automobiles before She's Having a Baby. So, I actually did it afterwards, but it came out before. And so he called me up and he said, "I got something. Can you come down to 57th Street or something like that? On a Tuesday, and you're going to run up and down the street." I was like, "Great, I'm in."
Oh, it's the coolest. It's such a great moment. Oh, it's so good. She's Having a Baby, man. What was that, like the late 80s, early 90s?
I guess, yeah. I'm not good with the dates.
Yeah. And I really just love that when there's some neighbor, this is all paraphrasing, but there was a neighbor you're at a barbecue or whatever, and he's commenting about you noodling upstairs, like he's trying to figure out what you're doing at your desk upstairs. You're writing, and I just loved, as someone who was becoming a comedian and a writer, I was just like, that moment of being seen as the oddball just because you're writing. It really lingered with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a very personal movie to John.
Yeah.
And I know that the fact that it didn't perform at the box office was very painful for him.
It didn't?
No, it really didn't.
Oh, wow.
Of his movies, I mean,
right.
I don't know if they lost money on it, but it was definitely not a hit.
Right.
And I think that that hurt, because I think it was probably the most personal movie that he made.
Right. Isn't that the way, though? You do something right, and those things become important, and people really hang with them for a long time, but maybe they just didn't score at that moment.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's I've made a few of those where quite a few of those where they don't really blow up when they come out.
Yeah.
But, back in the age of VCRs, people kind of found them and appreciated them.
How mind-bending was the fame of Footloose? Because then I have to imagine, like, you're doing off Broadway, you're becoming successful, you have these parts, and like we're talking about, like, you're an artist and you're finding your way, but you also, as a kid in Philly, you want to be famous and you want to be a pop star. And essentially, that's what Footloose did, right? You were
totally.
You were a pop star.
I was a pop star. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it as it was happening?
Well, let's put it this way: it wasn't at that point in my life. The pop star thing had gone so by the wayside.
Right.
I was so wanted to be a quote unquote serious actor. It was that New York thing that we had talked about.
Yeah.
And I think I was too naive in the industry to understand that if you embrace the pop stardom, then eventually over time you can turn it into anything that you want.
How old are you when this is happening?
I was 24 when I made the movie, so
right.
I was maybe about 25, I guess, when it came out. I'm not really sure. I all of a sudden, like you said, there was this giant thing, and they're flying me, around the world to promote it, and it's all just, the it boy thing.
Yeah, amazing.
and I think that I wasn't comfortable with it. Like it wasn't what I was kind of looking for in some kind of way. So so I think there was a period of self-sabotage.
Oh, really?
I resisted press opportunities, and I made choices that I thought were going to give me more edge, I guess, or something like that.
Right.
And then eventually, and so it was a lot of bombs after that, where I was, the star, where they would put me in movies where I was the star, and I wasn't making good choices. I don't think that the other thing about me is that I have been somebody that, for better or for worse, has not really been good at listening to advice or mentorship or trusting that anybody around me would know better than me what some good career decisions were. And and I always, from the very beginning, thought, I know exactly. I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just the way I came up, or the way I was raised, or something. It was like a kind of a cockiness, and I really don't think that that's a very good way to go through life. I think the people that have been through things before, and you have people that advise you, and people understand an industry better than you do, and So any kind of advice or anything that anybody was getting, I was like, no, fuck you. I got this. And so, And the other thing I'd say about that level of fame is that you may want it, and you may have a taste of it, but you really don't know until you're actually in it what that actually feels like.
What did it feel like? Like in the moment? Yeah. Like in the beginning when it was like
overwhelming and
freaky
and a little freaky. And now I it's not freaky to me anymore, because this is what I do every day. I wake up and somebody says, hey, you step out of your apartment in 6 degrees, cafe, you don't, whatever, it's like I don't even. Yeah, it's not freaky now, because it's my life. It has been my life for 40 years.
Right.
So now it's not freaky. Now it would be freaky not to have that. So it was just it was.
I mean, it's got to be so intense, because how famous were you before Footloose?
Not famous.
Not at all.
No, I mean, I'd been I was in Diner, but Diner, again, another one of these movies that has a lot of love for it, but was not a hit when it came out. MGM didn't even really want to release it. Honestly. They just kind of dumped it, and
it's so weird how these things happen, isn't it?
It's
like these things that are so great that and you're like, what do you mean It's a Wonderful Life didn't crush when it first came out? It's like,
oh wow,
right?
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's like these things, but if they're good pieces of work, they linger.
Yeah. So I mean, I had experienced it. I mean, even when you're on the soaps, I mean, if you're walking around, people will say, hey, Tim.
Right.
You're Tim, right? No, I'm not. I'm Kevin. No, you're Tim. You should be nicer to your mother.
Right. So it's kind of like, it's small, knock around New York kind of fame.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in the stratosphere.
Right.
And did you have like a friend, or were your brothers, or like, was there anybody that was like, you could be like, holy shit? I mean, you had to have been like some kind of fun involved.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, there was fun. No, there was definitely fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, listen, there's two kinds of actors that want to be famous, and liars. You definitely, there were parts of it that I really liked. It was, but it's also just kind of overwhelming. I mean, I flew out. This is the last time I was at the Oscars. It was in 1984 when the movie came out.
Oh, wow.
I was asked to present. And, somehow I ended up on a private plane that I'd never been on before with Liza Minnelli. And then Liza wanted to go to the Oscars with me. And when I was there, as I was coming on stage, I'm standing next to Cary Grant, who's telling me not to be nervous because Johnny Carson is. He says Johnny Carson's nervous too. Johnny Carson was the host, and I'm coming off stage, and Liza has grabbed Sammy Davis Jr. and Sammy is clapping for me. I mean, this is the kind of like it was
He's confusing.
bananas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can try to go, well, I got this, but no, I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah, but man, so great. I mean, it turned 40 last year. That film?
Footloose, yeah.
Man, oh
Yeah.
man, so joyful. My daughter was doing it in school right before the pandemic.
Oh, everyone's daughter's been doing it in school.
Everybody, and it's so joyful. I mean, it's really like
Yeah, it's
they
cool.
love it. All the kids just love being in it. Like the energy of that piece is just so great.
Yeah, it's cool, and also, I mean, it's a pop movie, but the themes of like pushing back against authority and
Yeah.
about pushing back against religious extremism.
Yeah.
That's saying that you can't do things like dancing and
Right.
and following your own heart and
Yeah, it
there's
had a
good,
lot
there's
to
good
it.
stuff there. Yeah.
I saw you talking about how you didn't really know how much dancing was going to be involved.
I really didn't know. I had no idea. I mean, there was a little bit of a dance audition. And I don't really remember the dance audition that much. The reason that I know about the dance audition is because I heard Rob Lowe talking about, or maybe he told me about how he probably could have gotten the part, but he tore his ACL or something during the dance audition.
Really?
He hurt himself.
During the audition?
During the audition, I think, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think it was during the audition or yeah, something like that. But
Wow.
yeah, so I
And then
I liked to dance. I mean, I was, no way was I a trained dancer.
Right.
There were a couple, when I was in acting school, they had like movement classes. And then, we had a couple of dance, teachers as part of our acting school program.
Sure.
But I loved to go to Studio 54, or whatever area. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
what are some of the other clubs I can't even remember in the 70s.
Is that where you met Liza?
That's no. I'm talking about when I was a waiter. I was
Oh, wow.
I was not hanging with them.
Right.
No, I was not hanging with Halston. I was just kind of scraping enough money together to get in and be able to maybe buy one beer and then just dance all night. I just loved
Right.
it. I loved it.
That's cool.
And so I thought, I literally said, I don't know that you necessarily need a choreographer. If you just turn the music on, I'll just dance around.
Yeah.
And the thing is that they, in the script, it never indicated that these were going to be big dance numbers. It really wasn't. If I remember correctly, because I read the script, multiple times, and before we started shooting, and I was like, it just says, Ren gets pissed off and dances.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
But when I landed to rehearse in L.A. at Paramount before we went to Utah to make the movie,
Right.
I pulled up. And they took me to a soundstage, and there was an entire soundstage that was just for me to rehearse the dancing
Oh my God.
and the gymnastics and the other stuff. Not just me.
Yeah.
Also, Chris Penn and the other dancers who were, in the movie. Laurie Singer. So I was like, oh shit, this is a bigger deal than I thought it was, and it was hard. I mean,
Was it long, weeks of that?
yeah, probably. Well, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, and then we went out to Utah and yeah, I worked really hard, and of course, famously, I do have doubles.
Sure.
For a bunch of different things. They would get like a guy who could do a certain flip, but then the other guy couldn't do that, so we'd get another guy who. At one point, I was having such a crisis of confidence because, I was in the scene. I'm wearing like you know, pale blue, tight, very tight jeans and a white tank top, and I walk on set and I see like 5 guys that are all dressed exactly like that. I'm like, Jesus, what am I here for?
Yeah, are they going to send me home?
Yeah, are they going to get some stunt guy to start saying my lines now?
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I've learned a lesson with that.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. I mean, it really, it's. Is there another one that kind of that you really now have like? Oh, I'm glad I made that.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but I can tell you that in a very small 4-day role, one of the things that really changed things for me, because I was talking about how after Footloose, you know, I was not hitting it out of the park. I mean, they were, you know, a lot of movies that just didn't work and weren't performing,
right?
And you know, you're talking about New York and off Broadway. You know, an agent that I had at the time said to me, you know, I really think you should go back to your kind of off Broadway roots when you were playing these character parts. And the first thing that she also represented Oliver Stone, and the first thing that she sent me on with this new directive was a meeting with Oliver for JFK, and so I did that, and it, you know, we were talking before about how you don't really, I don't really always look at things as being real seminal kind of turning points, but this one really was. It came out, and you know, the movie did really well, first off, so it was good to be in a hit, but also just...
You were different.
I was different.
Yeah. You weren't Footloose anymore.
I wasn't Footloose anymore, exactly. And that led to a bunch of other really good gigs.
Right.
And then I was able to say, okay, well, this is what I do now. I'm a character actor. I really am. I mean, I'm just, as I said, you know, I don't have a thing.
But you do have a thing. Like, there is, like... I know what you're saying, like it's not all that thing and it's the only note that you play, but there's enough of a thing where, like, just from the outside, if I were to read a script, it'd be like, oh, Kevin Bacon could play this. Like, I have in my head what your thing is. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
But I do know what you're saying. Like, you're able to absorb yourself and go into these characters, but it's not just this thing that you do all the time.
I feel super, super grateful for the fact that if I do get offered a part, that they're often really, really different from each other. So that's a really hard thing to fight for in our industry.
Yeah,
you know, to be able to play different kinds of parts is not something that Hollywood really wants you to do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because it's not a brand that they know they can sell.
They know they can sell, or that's worked before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that other people have made money off of.
Yeah. I mean, this guy that I'm doing this. I'm in this miniseries called Sirens that's coming out. Julianne Moore and others. Megan Fahey, and it's like the guy is so completely different than the Bondsman.
Oh, really?
He's like a billionaire.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he's like a pot smoking billionaire, you know, who's dealing with anxiety, and it's just it's completely different.
Oh.
And you know, I did it. It kind of dropped out of the sky pretty much right after I had wrapped the Bondsman. And I was just like, this is, I gotta just stop and acknowledge the fact that I have this opportunity, you know. It's so, I'm just so grateful for that. You know?
Are you an actor that carries the part for a while? Like, do you know,
take my work home?
Yeah, you have to kind of shake it off, or
this is what I would say is that I carry it while I'm doing it. A little bit. You know, people don't have to call me by my character name.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're if you're fighting demons all week,
right?
You're gonna be fighting some demons in your dreams, or a little bit on the weekends, or whatever it happens to be. You get, if you have to go. I mean, I guess I would say if you have to go to a dark place again and again and again.
Yeah.
With some roles, something like, I don't know, The Woodsman or Murder in the First. That definitely gets inside you. But
sure.
I am very good at the end of the shoot of kissing him goodbye. And
that's good.
I mean, it's funny. People sometimes are known to, keep props or keep wardrobe, keep things from. I'm like, I don't want anything.
Yeah,
I gotta say goodbye to this person, and thanks for hanging out with me. And but I gotta go. I got someplace else to go.
There's a power to that, I believe. Like if you were to keep these little trinkets, it would linger for sure.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I think there is that little bit of magic to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We do a thing on this program called An Uncomfortable Moment. And, obviously I'm a big fan of yours. And you are very funny. Like, you have, even in Bondsman, like, there's humor to your performance. But I just want to, it's weird to kind of pitch a movie star something in real time with cameras rolling. But
okay.
How about Kevin Bacon, The Gallagher Story?
I would love that. Does he have an interesting story? I mean,
don't
aside
know.
from the fact that he's smashing fruit and stuff.
He smashes fruit. He had a brother.
I'm kind of perfect for it.
He had a brother that did the act at the same time. Like, he'd be in St. Louis and his brother would be as Gallagher doing it somewhere else. That's pretty interesting.
That's
Big
interesting.
pot smoker. There's probably something there.
All right. I'm in it. Man, that's good.
If I write it, you'll consider it?
Yes, I definitely will. Listen, I'll consider anything. You should know that about me. I would have to be an idiot to just shut that down right away.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Right off the bat. No, I'll definitely consider it.
It would be pretty cool.
It's funny because I rarely have. It's only been a handful of times that I've played a real person. And at that handful of times, it hasn't been anybody that anybody would know. So I've never had to do.
Was JFK real? Was that guy real?
Yeah, not really. He was kind of a combination of a few
of different agents.
Yeah, he was kind of a combination of a few different people.
Yeah,
one of which Oliver sent me out one night into New Orleans to hang with this guy, and
oh really?
And he gave me and kind of like a tour of the various like leather bars and sex clubs of kind of underground New Orleans, and thankfully Gary Oldman agreed to come along with me.
Yeah, you weren't alone.
I wasn't alone. No.
Jeez.
But no. So I've the guy in Apollo 13, obviously Jack Swigert was a real guy, but there's very little to see of him. You know what I mean? In order to I can't even think of another one right now. But yeah, it's rarely have I done anybody famous.
Like it's a real thing. This is just a funny little side story. I was hosting the other night the CAS Awards. It's the Sound Awards for all the films of the year, and I'm hosting it. I'm just bringing these people up for Dune and whatever, and I have my little notes just so I don't screw up the names, like on this table backstage, and I'm sitting there, I'm just looking at them, and I hear someone behind me, and they're just kind of cranky. Like the stage manager's like, so do you you're gonna go up in what you're gonna go up in just a couple of minutes, and she's like, do you have anything that like prepared remarks that I'm gonna talk? I don't know. I'm like, this guy is not pleased. Who is this guy? And I turn around, it's Oliver Stone.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
He can get cranky.
Yeah. It was so like, that force. A guy, Tim Maitland, I think his name was he was the sound guy that was winning this Lifetime Achievement and did JFK and The Doors and a bunch of stuff with Oliver.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. 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 No, it's, yeah.
Some of those guys are just like, some of those directors are just, they're like a force of nature, right? Like they're going to make these things, even if they're big and complex, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Those people seem to be built differently.
Directors.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's like you have to be, you have to kind of be one of those people that is, inherently ready to lead, in some kind of way. You can lead, you can be a gentle leader, or
Right.
you can be a tyrant. Just like life, and, and countries and whatever. They,
Right.
sure, there have been some really big personalities. Paul Verhoeven did a movie I did called Hollow Man, and he was a giant personality. I mean, he just was like a mad scientist. And,
Really?
and a lot of yelling and jumping around, and just it was nuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's nuts.
Yeah, it was.
I don't
nuts.
see you being that kind of director.
I'm not really. I mean, I feel like, first off, I look a lot to Clint and Clint's style, which is calm and respectful of the crew, and efficient. Like not wasting time on a bunch of stuff. And I also feel really strongly that if it's a set where I am either directing or number one on the call sheet, I'm going to want it to feel good and feel safe. I don't really love the idea of getting into situations where people are stressed or feel unsafe. Or, it's going to be tiring. There's no doubt about it. It's always going to be tiring, but I don't want people getting into accidents if they're driving home, or what I mean? It's like, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
like when you see those stories of like Hitchcock, when he would completely torture the lead actress to get her to that state.
You don't need to do that.
She's an actress. She could fake it.
I totally agree. You don't need to torture actors. I don't. Yeah. And you'll hear directors talk about, and then I did the craziest thing. I went and you're like, it's like, fuck you,
right?
It's, you don't like, it's
they're human beings.
They're human beings. You can make a great movie and get great performances without like making people terrified or traumatized by the experience.
Right. So you've got to run around and do some press, I guess, because it's April when the Bondsman comes out.
Yeah, we'll be doing some stuff.
Doing some stuff. Mm-hmm. And what else are you making at the moment?
Right now, I am I've got shows with the band.
Nice. You touring?
Yeah, we got some dates coming up. Also, I made, well, for the Bondsman, speaking of the band, it's the first time pretty much that I've combined my interest in music with an acting gig. Because generally, sometimes people will offer me parts to play musicians and stuff, and I'm like, I'm happy to do it, but it's not. I don't want to take something because I get a chance to play. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I kind of keep them pretty much separately.
Yeah.
In the case of the Bondsman, the character is an ex-musician. He's kind of given up on it, and he had a band with his wife Jennifer Nettles, plays Mary Ann Dice in the show, and so I was like, this is an opportunity to write some songs. So not only did I write songs, I wrote songs with Jennifer, and two of them are in the show. and then an arrangement that she came up with of a traditional song is also in the show. And so we were talking, and she said, maybe we should do a CD or an EP of songs that were from the show, but also inspired by the Bondsman. Because when I was down there, I generally write from my own point of view, perspective, right? But it's fun sometimes, in this case, to write from the character's point of view.
Right.
So I wrote a few other songs, and she also wrote one, and we wrote some together. And so it's all songs that are really from the point of view of Hub Halloran and Marianne Dice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there are songs that are inspired. Yeah. So we just finished recording that, and we're gonna release that.
Oh, very cool.
That's kind of like a in combination with the show dropping.
That's gotta be a weird thing. It's almost. I guess it's closer to script writing than it is to songwriting, right? Because you're writing for another character. Like the other thing is kind of an autobiographical.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like script writing. I mean, a song is so specific. It's got a verse and a chorus and a bridge, and it's under 3 minutes, and
right.
under 4 minutes, and it's I mean, I guess I would say it's a little bit more like not so much like script writing, but a little bit more like character research in a way, because you're if the guy was like a few of the songs I wrote, I thought of what would be going on in their relationship that was, say, 15 years ago. Okay,
right.
So like when they're first going out together, or when they're first breaking up, or whatever that moment was. Like that's the type of kind of backstory work that I would do anyway.
Right.
So then to take that another step and say, well, I am playing a musician, so let me think about what my character's backstory, what would be coming out of him at that moment. And the other piece of it is that you're also writing in a specific musical genre, that has a certain amount of like rules, right? Because they're country singers, and a specific kind of country music,
right?
And so like adding all those kind of elements to it is just a fun way, because you can write, all the time. Or some people write from a hook, or some people write from, only personal stuff, but if you're given like a set of criteria, right? It's got to be country. It's got to be from Hup's point of view. It's got to, you know what I mean? It just becomes like a fun challenge.
Yeah. It's got to. How deep into the project did you start coming up with it? Because
we wrote one before we started shooting.
Oh, that's cool.
It was rejected.
Okay, but you're mining this stuff.
Yes,
right.
And then I think maybe the rest of them were while we were down in Georgia, and I would.
They stopped rejecting them.
yeah. They rejected a few, but it's okay. I mean, listen, I get it. The songs are cool. It doesn't matter. I mean, but my brother and I have written countless songs for movies of mine that have just gotten rejected one after another,
right?
And one that we actually still do in the show, and it's a cool song. It's called "Beneath Perfection," and we wrote it for a movie that I was in called "Beneath Perfection," and then they changed the title of the movie to "Tremors."
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we
far back.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we still play the song. It's a fun song. We've kind of reimagined it. I wrote it as kind of like a folky thing. We imagined it more as a rocker. And it's
Beneath.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because
your brother sounds like John Hyatt.
Right?
Yeah. Does he get that?
He's got that. Yeah, John Hyatt or James Taylor a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize the band had been going all that time.
95.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, we've done probably, I don't know, 11 records or something like that.
Amazing.
All original stuff.
Amazing. Do you like touring with it?
I do. I always like the gig. The touring has lost its shine a little bit as you get older, you know what I mean? It's like when you first, go on the road and you're like, oh, I'm on the road, and so now we mostly do kind of like weekend warrior type runs. We'll go out and do 3-4 days on a weekend, but the getting there, the sitting around the lousy hotels, the food, the sound checks, the wait in between the sound check and the show. These are all things that you can listen to classic rock and they'll talk about how hard it is, and it is. It can be kind of a drag, but the show is always fun. Like I really, really like. And every time I finish a show, I kind of go, "Oh, right, that's it. That's what's fun."
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's a pretty good career there, kid.
I'm doing what I can with what I've got, and looking for the next one. I mean, it
really is very cool, and I have to say, I mean, like you said, you don't plan it out. It just kind of it happens, and you do the thing, but. It is, from my little perspective from growing up in New Jersey and seeing what New York actors would do and what that story would be of waiting tables and then getting your breaks and then being still in the craft. And it's, you did it. You're a legit movie star. It's got to be pretty, pretty cool.
I'm always happy just to have a gig, to have any gig. Believe me, it's and that's just the beginning of the things that I have gratitude for. I mean, I've got Kira and the kids and the rest of my family. I'm a very, very lucky guy, and I'm healthy and I can still remember some lines.
Yeah, when do you get to the part where you start putting the ear thing in?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet. I have thought to myself, that's got to be so difficult.
Yeah,
right. I mean, to be hearing it, and then the other actors talking. I can't imagine it, but the people make it work.
Yeah,
some great actors make it work.
Yeah, it's got to be weird. Well, I really, truly, this was really a treat. This was really great to meet you. And
thank you for the baked goods.
Yeah, I know. Well, when you come out to LA, I'll bring you real bread.
All right.
And now I'm kind of in competition with your friend who I've never met.
John, yeah. He's coming for dinner tonight, but I don't think he's going to bring any bread because he lives in LA. So maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe he put some in his suitcase.
Yeah.
I think it's actually kind of a little bit of an albatross for him now because everybody kind of expects it.
It's me too.
Really?
Yeah. I was on a flight coming from LA, and the flight attendant came over. And he was like, Tom? I was like, oh, he recognizes me from comedy or whatever. And he's like, I just want to apologize for the bread on this flight. These are not croissants. They call them croissants, but it is not, and I cannot stand by it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, more people know me for bread now.
That's funny. That's good. Good on you, man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So thanks again, and I'll get to work on the Gallagher story.
Yes, please.
And if you have any parts in your family thing, I can check my avails.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, man.
We got it, kid.